Perfect. Hello, guys. Welcome to a new community call. Today is Wednesday, 5 of July. Hopefully, you American members of the community had a very good 4th of July. Today we have a very special day because we're going to show you progress about Kleros 2.0. Well, there is some new people here, so maybe we can start by just giving some background for maybe people who are not very much aware of what are the improvements and what are the new like features that we want to put into this new version of Kleros. I would start maybe William, maybe a short overview of why Kleros 2.0 is different and what's so cool about that from the point of view of research and game theory.
Sure. So there are several new features that are planned for version 2. Most notably, it will be on a rollup. So like that will save gas compared to the sort of current situation. So that will ideally open like new use cases that are sort of like lower value and like not tolerant to having high gas prices. But that's not the main thing. While we're like also migrating to rollup, we're also sort of going to draw from a lot of the research and what we've learned over the past 4 or 5 years now that V1 has been live to make other improvements. So some of those improvements that draw on like the academic field, what is known as social choice theory, basically this sort of study of voting systems to have better voting. Currently in version 1, you can, strictly speaking, have Kleros cases that have more than 2 options for jurors to choose between. But it's usually a good idea to construct a case where you expect there to be more than 2 outcomes that will have substantial support. So if it's okay to have like a bunch of options, as long as by the time it gets to the jurors, you sort of expect it to crystallize down to 2 options. And this has a lot to do with sort of like classical problems of vote splitting that are present in sort of standard democratic elections when people vote for president or parliament, and kind of manifest themselves in interesting ways in sort of Kleros-like Schelling point systems. So we've drawn on some of that research, we've adapted it to Schelling point systems, and we plan to have better voting systems that can adapt to these challenges. Notably, version 2 will be more modular, so you don't even have to use the same voting system for every case or every court. You can have different voting systems that are sort of more or less adapted to different types of cases that can be used in different modules, and that modularity will allow us to continue adding new features that maybe we haven't even thought of yet, or that the community in the future sort of develops and votes upon, that can be added as modules without everyone having to like migrate to a new version of the court to like on stake and restake somewhere else. Some features that we've like thought are interesting that can help improve sort of the experience of Kleros are changes in how juror selection works. So that maybe you use a proof of humanity type screen so that each juror can only draw once per case. That wasn't something that was available when version 1 came out. We've considered having a sort of juror misbehavior court, so that if jurors are subjectively decided by their peers, by other jurors, as having broken some sort of set of rules, they can be penalized, which gives you a lot more flexibility in sort of penalizing inappropriate juror behavior than trying to like have automatic systems or sort of purely automatic systems that slash jurors under automatic conditions. So, like a number of sort of different points,
Thank you, William. Maybe I will also let Clément, if you have something to add about V2, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think William already said most of it. So really, like the idea of V2 is to have gas cost reduction. So being a rollup. For that, as you know, we are also developing a bridge via, which is actually a bridge which is using other bridge without losing the security of the underlying bridges. And other elements that are important for V2 is modularity. V1 was done as fast as possible. because like you have to release to let people use your application. But now V2 we have more time, so we want V2 to be something which is more built with duration in mind. So for that we are having modules. We have some example of different voting modules. We can also have different drawing modules. So this way, when we want to make some modification in Kleros, it's going to be easy because we just have to make a volume, move a module, and not redeploy a whole port.
Good. Thank you, Clément. Okay, and let me just before we start, just want to make a short announcement, not because I already said this, but save the date, November 9, Lisbon. We're going to make a very cool Kleros conference. So we are going to have different tracks about Kleros ecosystem, about the Kurt, about the research, about lots of different things we are preparing. This is going to take place near the time of there is a blockchain conference there and the Lisbon Blockchain Week, and also Web Summit is near that date. So we said, why not make our conference there? So November 9, so save the date and start booking your tickets there. And that said, let's move into the main dish for today. Before showing the what we want to show you, let's JB maybe give some context of what we showed in the past and what we are going to show today, so people have some background of what is the difference between what we already showed for the demos and what's going to happen today.
Yes, hi everyone. So the difference between the previous demos, the very first demo that we did, there was no proper UI, at least nothing close to the final form of the UI. It was more like a technical user interface. It was not nice to look at, but that was a proof of concept. Then we had one in September last year. At that time, VIA was not a separate thing, and I don't even know if we showed any bridging at the time. Could have been an Arbitrum. And then in January we showed the bridging, but VIA was not launched yet, so we were more free to sort of manage it the way we want. Now for VIA we have a public devnet, so we have to.
JB, just one thing. I'm not sure everyone will know what VIA is. Maybe give like a 1 minute explanation of what VIA is and why it's important for V2.
All right. So VIA is our bridging solution that allows us to pass a ruling from our home chain, quote unquote, which is Arbitrum. That's where we are going to, all the jurors are going to interact with the court. That's where the resolution of the dispute is going to take place. But it's not necessarily where the arbitrable applications are deployed. So even right now in V1, we have arbitrable applications on Ethereum, on Gnosis chain. And we want to keep maintaining, we want to preserve the backward compatibility with those dApps. So we are going to use an optimistic bridging mechanism to send that rolling message. And if we were not doing that, we would either have to wait for the 7 days delay that the official Arbitrum bridge is forcing us to go through, or we would have to use third-party bridges, which take a lot of shortcuts on the security. They try to make the bridging of messages cheap and fast, but it's not the security appetite of the typical Kleros use cases. So we need something that is more in has a different trade-off between the latency of the rolling being passed across the bridge and the security. So 7 days is a bit too long, and 20 minutes from some third-party bridges is we don't need that short. But we would be happier with stronger security guarantees. So that's where VIA comes in. It's a somewhat niche use case, I suppose, for bridges, but it makes a lot of sense in a rollup centric world where you could imagine in the future more protocols being deployed on a rollup first chain, and at that point the interoperability needs for those applications would probably drive them towards a VIA sort of solution. So
good.
Right now
Just to mention that about 1 month ago we made the presentation of VIA. So that's recorded. I mean, Jean can share this if you want to learn more about VIA. You can see the link that Jean is going to share with you. And you can continue, JB.
Yes. All right. So maybe what I can say is maybe some things that we've done since the last demo, and in the last demo maybe it wasn't maybe very obvious, but in the front end a lot of the data was not completely live. So today you see that there's more live data, like some dollar amounts, there's some statistics. Maybe I can probably already share my screen actually. Just
do it.
All right, screen. Okay. I think you should see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. So that's the architecture diagram that I've shown many times before. It hasn't really changed, and we can see on the left the arbitrator, on the right that's what. Okay. Oh, right. The Kleros core arbitrator on the left and the arbitrable on the right, and so now looking at the front end, so that's the mobile first front end that we've been working on. And okay, so we've got some statistics here. You can see the amount of PNK that has been staked on the court historically. So we've been playing with the court this week. The developers staked 10,000 PNK. We've unstaked just before the demo so that we have more certainty on who's going to be drawn for the demo. We can also see the number of cases in the past few days that were used for testing. And the number of jurors staked, 31 cases in total. We can see the different courts. I'll get more information if I connect my wallet. So we have this new wallet connect model. And we can see that there is 2 active jurors on this court. And there's a few more courts created. I don't think we've staked in those courts. And go back to the general court. So that's everything you would expect when you want to understand the policy for this court. All right. So I think the staking and unstaking, we've shown it before. I can show it again. I could stake a ton of PNK. And it's a two-step process as usual. So you can see on the right that I need to sign the first transaction to approve it. And there should be a second one just after when it's confirmed. All right. And now the second transaction.
Наверное, нам надо купить билеты во Вьетнам.
All right, so it's mined. And it could be that we are in a phase where we are drawing the draws. So in this case, the stakes will reflect a little bit later. We are working on a better UX for this. Well, that should.
Is this going to be the UX including for desktop?
No, for desktop it's going to be more horizontal. We are planning to make it more desktop friendly just after.
This is a mobile emulator.
It's a mobile first design. So I'm in developer mode, so I can change the layout.
Okay, so this is a mobile layout. That was okay.
Yeah, exactly. So on the home page we have the cases which are already responsive, and another step would be like those icons, the statistics at the top to make them also responsive. Okay, what's happening with my stakes here? Okay, I'm not too sure. Yeah, it's probably in a drawing phase.
I have some questions about VEA when it's time for questions, if possible.
I mean, when we wait, maybe we can do a question, JB, while we wait for the phases and that.
Yeah, actually,
go ahead.
Yeah, you can go ahead if you want to ask.
As far as I understood it, VEA is just a wrapper around what are basically official bridges for each of the side chain or rollup. Have I understood it correctly?
Yeah, it's a wrapper for the official bridge of the rollups. Yeah.
Okay, but as far as I know, those bridges only have the utility of bridging assets like ERC20 tokens or maybe some other ERC standards. But I'm not sure. Maybe you can tell me if those bridges also support more general purpose messaging, as in, for example, allowing the deployment of a truly like multi-chain smart contract that interacts on a very fast basis with other chains. Is that going to be possible through VEA, or the architecture doesn't allow it?
I mean, yes, the official bridges can absolutely support message bridging. It's not obvious because they don't show it in the UI. So if we go to bridge.arbitron.io, we can only see tokens.
So they can do it, they just don't talk about it.
Yes, because it's mostly just on-chain interactions. So it's it's in the docs. And actually, if it was not possible, VIA could not exist, because we are relying on this feature of the official bridges to deal with the non-optimistic scenario. Yeah. So yeah, it's possible. And what VIA allows is to make like calculated risk trade-off to have high security and better latency.
Yeah, the concept is really interesting. Like, if you trust a side chain, might as well use their official bridging method, because you already trust them since you choose to interact with it.
Yeah. Damn it. So, okay, to be honest, there's a good chance that our developers are making last-minute changes, and we are right now redeploying. I'm pretty sure of that.
We can take more questions in the meantime, maybe about VIA. Yeah, that is
the curse of the demo.
I mean, doing live demos is always complicated, but we have always done them, real time. So you see that what we show you, and there's this risk, but it's fine. Let's take a bit more questions if you have about VIA. We can explain a bit more about the trust assumptions of VIA, or whatever you want to know why this is fixed.
Yeah. Maybe answering on VIA. So, like, it's not just a wrapper. So there is still a slight modification, which is it's an optimistic bridge. So this means that you have some messages which need to be passed, and for that you don't use the underlying bridge all the time. Most of the time, you have someone who will report the messages, and that is a deposit. So if no one complains within a specific period, this report is going to be considered to be correct, and then those are the messages that have been passed to the other chain. Now, if someone says that this report is incorrect, now that creates a dispute, not in the Kleros sense, but in the sense of they're going to make a transaction through the underlying bridge, and then you're going to be able to have what was the actual message which were given on the other side of the bridge. So in the worst case, you end up using the underlying bridge, but in the best and most common case, you don't need to use the underlying bridge just because people will make an honest report initially, because if they don't, they will lose their deposit.
Yeah, and maybe another interesting concept that you can mention, Clément, is that you just need one honest actor for this to work.
Yeah, so when you say we don't add any extra trust assumption, well, you had one trust assumption in some way, but this is a very, very weak one, so like very easy to fulfill. You should have at least one honest actor to challenge a bad actor which will try to pass bad messages. So it's similar to the optimistic rollup kind of model. In optimistic rollup, you're gonna publish what is the new state, and if you lie about it, well, then you have this dispute, which is a computational dispute, where you're gonna find who was right actually. Like you're gonna execute some of the computation, not everything, but you can execute some of the computation, and then you're gonna be able to find who was right, if the new state was correct or not. But because you know that if you lie, someone is going to be able to challenge you, and you're going to lose the challenge. And here you lose it in the sense of code. It's not something involving jurors. You don't have much incentive to give false state in the first place. Your incentive could be to kind of like lower the bridge, lower the time. Increase the time it takes for a message to cross the bridge. So you can do that, but then you're going to lose some money by doing it. So most of the time, you're going to end up with something which is going to be very fast,
and which is also going to be cheaper because you don't need to use the underlying bridge. The cost saving are specifically relevant when you are doing multiple ops. So, for example, if I want to send a message from just from Optimism to Arbitrum, for example, if I'm using classic bridges like the native bridges, I need to send the message from Optimism to mainnet and then from mainnet to Arbitrum, which is going to cost me quite some gas. But now I can send it directly from Optimism to Arbitrum, and only if someone is misreporting something, you're going to need to use the two bridges to verify a message which was passed. But most of the time, you don't need to use the mainnet, and the mainnet is where it's expensive. So you only stay on expensive chain, on cheap chain. And I would expect that most of the time you're gonna use Ethereum as some sort of hub. Like most of the time, I don't know if you're gonna go from Optimism, Ethereum to Gnosis Chain, for example, and with VIA, most of the time you don't need to go through mainnet. But then if someone is trying to misbehave, then you can always backtrack to go to the mainnet. And even if it costs some money, it's not really a problem, because since the person who was misreporting had to put a deposit, well, they're going to lose more in deposit than what is going to cost us in gas, and we're going to get more we're going to get more ETH, and it's going to cost us in gas because we're going to get part of the deposit of the business parties. When I say we, I mean whoever is going to challenge. And we're going to be running some challenger bot, but everyone can run a challenger bot, and you just need to have one person running a good challenger bot for the system to work.
I mean, so that's why the tagline is, trust yourself, because if you are the one if you trust yourself and you are the validator, then you can be sure that you are the honest actor. So, yeah. Good. Well, are we ready, JB, to continue?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Let's go.
So, okay. So it's actually the difficult thing about these demos is that we are trying to make things happen real time, but the court is actually a slower moving system. We have phases which usually they take place sequentially, and usually because the life cycle of a dispute is quite long. It's over days. These things are not obvious, and we don't show them in the front end. But usually we try to shorten them as much as we can. So now the periods are 3 minutes, and the phases are also a few minutes. So that's the time it takes to go through the whole life cycle of the court. So now we can see on the general court that there's 2,000 PNK staked, which is what I staked before. And that means now that, so my stake is here. Something is not letting me scroll. Okay, so you can see that with these 2,000 PNKs, I have 90% chances of getting drawn. So that's the sort of things that are new, that didn't exist in V1. This sort of information. So for this demo, we have a dispute which is inspired by a real case that happened 2 months ago. It's related to Kleros Suzy, Kleros Moderate, sorry. Suzy is the name of the bot in Telegram. And we are using Suzy to moderate Telegram groups. In one of those groups, one of the users said something that was going against the community rules. And usually the first steps are an escalation game on reality. And that's the question that was asked. And that was on April the 12th. And it was escalated. It created a dispute on Kleros at the end of April. And a ruling was given at the beginning of May, and that user got a 1 month ban from the group. So we are reenacting this dispute. We have just finished making the front end able to read the data like minutes before the demo. So that's why it's not showing the best right now, but at least the data is there. So it's getting this information from reality. And so if we click, for example, on the arbitrable from the court, we end up on the original. That creates the question. This is probably going to IPFS to show the original message on the Telegram. Okay, not clicked. All right. Finding the case again. All right, so the three options. Has this user did the user break the Telegram group rules? And there's some rules on IPFS. There. Yeah, well, IPFS. All right, so okay, so it's in evidence period. We can submit some evidence. Yeah. So discussing the case. So ban. Can attach some files as well. That's uploaded to IPFS. And once we get the hash, it's going to be written on chain. So that's why I need to sign. All right. And okay, and we can see that there was another evidence that was submitted in the meantime. This is me. This is mine. It's going to be rendered properly very soon. Well, okay, so we've got more people submitting evidence. There's something new that it's almost like instant messaging. We can see the evidence from other people instantly.
Sorry for interrupting. It seems like the IPFS endpoint is having some hiccups because it's not rendering the dispute either, and previously it was not loading the rules. So this is not us.
Okay. Yeah, the many moving pieces.
Yeah, and not always depends on us. There are lots of things that need to work with the infrastructure that are sometimes not working. Obviously, not working in the exact moment where we do the demo. Just let me just point something important, I think, here about why V2 is important. So in this type of use case of content moderation, so what you need for people to use it is like very low cost. So the fact is that V2 is going to enable like Kleros being like way cheaper than currently is, and this will help adoption in type of use cases like content moderation. And also another interesting thing is that the new decision structure that V2 enables, like William mentioned before, we might have the jurors decide not like just if the user broke or didn't break the rules, but let's say jurors could choose between how long should the ban be, like 6 months, like 3 months, 1 month, or no ban, because there is a bunch of options that we will be able to actually rank options for jurors to choose. So this more sophisticated decision-making logic is going to enable more use cases for Kleros, like this case in content moderation. Yeah, go ahead, JD.
Yes. Yeah, so okay, this issue was created on the curation court. Yeah, we didn't think about this first, but we haven't staked in that court, so maybe it's not too late. and staking. Okay, what's the field? Well, okay, at some point it will update. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
What else can you show? Yeah. Okay, I think we missed. Have we missed the voting? No, not yet. Okay. So yeah, the dispute should go into a voting period now. Trying to see at the same time what's happening.
Don't worry, we will later edit this and could cut the the dead parts, so because of the period and stuff, so it looks that everything went flawlessly.
Yeah,
as we always do.
Yeah. Okay. In the meantime, what else can I show? Okay, that's an overview of the code structure that we have on Ethereum on one side, on Gnosis chain on the right, and we are going to consolidate all of this into this at the bottom.
I think one thing that you could explain, JB, while the period passes is what is the next step? I mean, what is coming after this demo? What are we working on towards the actual release of V2?
All right. So the next steps, we are going to add a few small things that are currently missing. We are working on the backend that will provide the notifications. So at the moment we have this panel, but it doesn't really do anything. But like in V1, you'll be able to provide your contact details, and if you're drawn for a dispute, if the dispute is resolved, you will get notified. That's an important one. We will have the desktop layout because right now it's usually okay on the wider screen, but this is not very efficient, the middle part. We are going to have more live data in a few places where we don't have any just yet. Probably not connected. I'm connected. So like this should show some real data. We are going to migrate more arbitrable contracts applications. So this is showing the number of arbitrable applications that you have on mainnet and Gnosis chain, and we'll start migrating the reality arbitrable proxy, probably curate as well. We already have we have the dispute resolver, which is halfway as well.
Okay, so the front end tweaks, we have migrations. Maybe tell us a bit when we start with the smart contract audits and how this is going to work.
Yes, so we are very mindful of the time of our team. So we start with internal reviews of the code, but we don't want to do that too early, because if there's any change, we need to review everything again. So yeah, as long as the contracts are not, we are not really confident that they are stable, not going to ask everyone to start reviewing them, and that's probably going to be after ETC. We should have a more stable code base for the smart contracts. And once we are confident with that, we will look at possible audits. We have got a lot of contacts actually from solo auditors who would be interested in helping us. It's actually quite competitive. The auditing space is actually changing, so we'll see. And yeah, what else? Yeah, the focus for the milestones will be launching on this chain first. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, I should connect again if I look at the court. Well, it's probably still doing its thing.
So this is almost like the final release. I mean, of course, without the front end, improvements and some optimizations, but this is more or less what it's going to look like, right? And of course, the smart contract audits on that.
Yes. Okay, like this description of the dispute will look better. This is a bit rough around the edges. Maybe something that's better formatted is the proof of humanity ones that we decided not to show at the last minute, like something like this. So that would link to the POH DAP and yeah. What else?
I have a question about proof of humanity v2, if it's relevant in this chat.
I'm not the best person to answer that, but yeah.
I mean, you can ask, but I mean, Andre.
Okay, it's just is the 0.128 ETH? I don't know how to call it. The amount you need to
the deposit.
The deposit, yes, thank you. Is it gonna stay the same or is it gonna change?
I think usually our research.
I think Clement.
Yeah,
Clement or William maybe are going to be better to that. I mean, the idea is to have the deposit.
Deposits and fees are probably going to change just because in deposit and fee calculation, gas fee is something we should take into account. So since we should lower gas fees, I should change the deposit and fee.
Yeah, as you know, there is like lots of thinking put into parameters and trying to get the deposit low so more people can apply. But then there is another thing to consider, that is how to incentivize the challengers to be able to be willing to spend time looking for malicious submissions. So there is lots of basically lots of the work that William does in parameters. It's the aim is to try to set parameters in such a way that the system is secure and as user-friendly as possible.
Yes, I understand that. If I may, just one more question. Also about proof of humanity. I know that in the beginning it was tied to the UBI thing, and it actually had a usefulness because the amount of UBI that was still on the address that hadn't yet moved, of a challenged account, it was possible to seize it to give it to the challenger. But since the split or whatever happened, I don't know if that mechanism is still possible. And I read somewhere that there was something like Circles UBI or something. Is that going to be like an incentive token reward, something for hardening the protocol of proof of humanity in order to incentivize honest challengers if need be? Have I understood this correctly about the Circle UBI or new token, if there is such a thing?
So it's not about the challenges. So okay, so you have, I think here you have three different things. So you have probability V2, which is going to be chain. So the difference is that you can be on mainnet, you can be on Gnosis chain. Maybe we can add other chain later. So you will make your registration on one chain, but you will be able also to use your registration on another chain. And then you will have one main chain of registration. Like for example, you could have a token, let's say you could have a UBI token that you could receive on mainnet or Gnosis chain, but not on both, because application can know where is your main registration. The mechanism, which is of the deposit and challenges, is going to have for now stay the same. If you vouch for someone who is removed for who is rejected for some malicious reason, you also get removed. Like all of that stays the same. Then the Kleros court at first is the V1. At some point, you can migrate to V2. And now on the Circle UBI. So so first, like with UBI, we are working with Democracy Earth, and like stuff went.
Yeah, we don't need to go into that. It's separate.
In both ways, both in the term that we don't work together, and also that the other can kind of died and the project is dead. So the idea was to find another UBI token that could be doing for people registering for humanity. And you have already this thing which actually released, I think, even for humanity. And this idea of Circle is that everyone is creating their own Circle token, like you can have like a Circle Clement or a Circle Federico. And if you trust each other, it means that I allow the conversion of one Circle Clement to one Circle Federico. So that's pretty great when you want to pay between friends. But now, if, for example, you want to be a merchant and you say, oh, I accept Circle. Okay, you accept Circle, but which Circle do you accept? That gives you another problem. Like, you want to make a liquidity pool. Okay, which Circle do I accept in my liquidity pool? So what we are doing now with Circle UBI is we are making a group currency. So the idea of the group currency is that you make a warp circle, and this warp circle can get any circle of people who are registered in Pool of Humanity. So this way you know that those are legitimate circles that are not civil attack, because you can only have one account in Pool of Humanity. So now all those circles, they are exchangeable with this circle group currency. So the circle UH, and with that we will be able to have liquidity pools, and also to have like merchant saying, okay, we accept circle like UH circles.
So it will fill the role of somewhat securing the proof of humanity protocol.
No. So even the UBI token itself was not securing the proof of humanity protocol in any way. Like UBI was something which was built on top of proof of humanity, but it was not a required element for proof of humanity. Like proof of humanity could completely work without UBI, and you can see now even like this UBI being abandoned and like a very, very low price, proof of humanity is still working, like from technical and game theoretical standpoint. So UBI is something which is using proof of humanity, and here we will have Circle UBI, which is going to be using proof of humanity, and also going to be using Circle.
Yeah, I mean, also it's worth mentioning that this is permissionless, so anyone could create their own, UBI token and use proof of humanity to distribute it, right? There's like an airdrop.
I know I'm going to do that. That's why I'm interested in the project. I'm going to add another one.
Well, you're very much welcome. That's awesome. More people will want to sign up then. Great. Okay, Jean, JB, are we ready to continue here? Yeah.
Yes. So we have a problem with the random number generation that prevents us from drawing. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, one thing I can show is a previous dispute that we used for testing a few days ago, earlier this week. That's what I wish we could have shown today. That was a proof of humanity case. So it went through the whole cycle of evidence and voting. There were 2 rounds. One test juror voted yes with this justification, which is written on chain. And there was an appeal, and well, the juror didn't vote, but it still resolved, and yeah.
As a juror, it was decided in refuse to arbitrate.
All right. Yeah. Is there any other good dispute that you remember, Aleš, that we can show?
Let me see.
So basically, the part that is missing to show here is the jurors voting and executing the ruling. That's what we couldn't see now.
Is the preparation of the random number generator that allows us to draw the jurors is stuck somewhere. It's partially out of our control, but yeah, we are going to look into it just after this.
Those are the problems of composability, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe Marino can point out some interesting dispute, because in the latest ones we were mostly trying the appeal flow, and we were just appealing without voting. So maybe Marino can point to some interesting disputes.
Well, they were pretty much kind of the same. Like, we created them for testing. So maybe dispute. Yeah, they were kind of the same. Like, you can go maybe to dispute 19. I think you saw that already.
Yeah. Dispute number 14 resolved without appeals, and with one juror voting to deny the request.
Yeah.
Also, dispute number 9.
And 19 also. There were 2 rounds.
19 had 2 rounds. Okay, yeah, so we were just seeing that our IPFS gateway, okay, you can see the last guy at the bottom, just, okay, now they're all displaying properly. So what's happening here is our IPFS gateway being very slow. I've never seen it being that slow, to be honest. So yeah, I guess we are doing the demo right.
Obviously, this is going to be the slowest moment of all, right?
Yeah. Maybe you can check the tags.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, that was an attachment. We are going to have so yeah, this tab right now it's only alive when there is the appeal period where people can crowdfund it. We are going to add the previous contributions, so that's going to be visible here, even though it's not in appeal period. We're going to show the contributions.
And if you go to the dashboard, I think you will have the latest version now. Or maybe if you refresh.
Yeah, I'm refreshing. All right. Yeah. So this is okay. So you can see that the team has been changing the engine as we were flying during the demo. So this is different from the beginning of this demo. They are now telling the user that he needs to connect before looking at the dashboard. And it's showing, now we don't have any more button to claim the rewards because actually the reward program is not active yet. And we can see that for my user, I haven't voted, so my coherence score is 0.
I think you have, but you have voted incoherently. So you have a 0 coherency score and a 0% coherence.
Yeah, I most likely have missed the voting period because it was 2 minutes when we were testing, so it's really short. Yeah, actually, maybe Marino or Alesh, if you have a better screenshot, you can also maybe share it on Telegram. Mine is a bit empty.
Yeah, don't worry. We will record. We will record one full cycle so you can see it better how everything works when we don't have problem with the IPFS and the random number generation. But we will see it working from end to end. Yeah, Marino.
I'm going to share a screenshot too.
Yeah. 40% score. Yeah. Oh, Marino is winning. Okay.
Maybe you can also mention how the coherency score is working, because it's maybe someone votes always coherently and sees a relatively small coherency score.
Yes.
Maybe you want to go a bit into.
Yes. So we've tried to gamify this. There are 4 or 5 levels, and it depends on how many times you've been coherent, which is sort of how many rounds you have voted with the majority. The distribution out of all the jurors staked in the court, their distribution, which is, so it's between 0 and 1, is very not very uniform. So we tried to smooth those differences so that not too many people are in the same bucket. And yeah, there's actually a lot of people on both sides of the. So many people who have only been drawn for 0 or 1 or 2 disputes, and a few people who have been drawn for 200 disputes. And yeah, we try to sort of spread those scores more evenly. I have a spreadsheet somewhere. I'm not sure I can find it. Can't remember how it's called.
It's okay. I mean, maybe you can. I mean, explain for everyone to know. I mean, what we showed today, what didn't work, so people know. I mean, what was the problem with the IPFS, and maybe we will do another session, another demo after ETHEC, and hopefully at some moment where IPFS works and the random number generation works. But so for people to know what they saw today compared to what they saw the previous time we did the demo.
Yes. Yeah. So overall, it should feel much more alive. and yeah, and it's actually picking up the dispute details from the actual arbitrable, which in the previous demo was kind of hard-coded. So now this the information for this dispute is really coming from on-chain data that for this arbitrable.
So there are more like moving parts here, right?
Yeah, much more production already.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe people have questions, anything you want to know about what's coming. Please feel free to ask. Any final words, maybe, JB?
Yes. Thanks everyone for staying so long. It wasn't exactly what we thought would happen, but still want to give a big shout out to Alesh, Shotaro, Daniel, Umut, Marino, and Simon, who have been really working overtime in the past few weeks. And we are getting closer to the goal. So
yeah,
we want to have something that
Go ahead.
Yes, so we want to have something that the community can play with before ETC. That gives you already a feel for what V2 Live in production will be.
Awesome. Well, thank you, JB. I mean, we will show a bit after the GHC a full demo again. And this is already looking like the real thing. It's almost finished. I mean, with all of the tweaks that need to be done and optimizations, but we are almost there. So, well, guys, thank you.
Am I being heard?
Yeah.
So I do have one question. These numbers here, the 2,000 PNK staked and the 0.6 Ether paid, are these real numbers or are these just test numbers?
This is test PNK. And yeah, it's probably, is it the...
both the price of PNK and ETH is the real ETH and real PNK price. Obviously, test PNK doesn't have value. But yeah, I mean, those values are coming directly from chain. That's the amount of test PNK that the jurors have staked. And yeah, that's the value that it would have if it were real PNK.
Mm-hmm. Yes, speaking of that, once we are going to, have the testnet deployment already, you will be able to get some, you can actually get some PNK on Goerli already from the faucet, from this guy. There's no front end right now except the Explorer. This PNK, you can go to the Arbitrum bridge to bring it over to Arbitrum and then stake it on the court. So you would just click this request. You just request it. Okay. And connect. And then you would request it. And it's going to fail for me because you can only do it once per address. But then you'll get some 10,000 PNK, if I recall, on Goerli. And then you would go to bridge.arbitrum. Then you bring it to Arbitrum Goerli, and then you can stake it on the court. That's kind of the idea for the testnet launch. So
awesome.
PNK.
Well,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Any other question, guys? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming, and yeah, you can claim your very special POAP. See you on Telegram. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Hello.